Hey everybody, welcome to the July edition of the Databricks Wisconsin User Group. So the same day I started putting ideas down for the speaking event, I logged into Databricks and my account verification code started with an LLM. I believe what Databricks was trying to say to me was, why the heck aren't you using our tool to build this presentation? So I logged in, rolled up my sleeves, and used Mosaic AI and specifically Claude Sonnet to help me with some of this content here. I do want to make a couple of quick housekeeping comments before we begin. So there will be a brief survey at the end of this session. The feedback you provided helps us improve the user group. And we'll also be raffling off a Databricks t-shirt so you'll enter the raffle by filling out the survey, and that's for both participants here as well as virtually. So please fill that form out. And then the second housekeeping detail is, in the room here, we do have a temporary technical workaround. So we do have a screen here because the TVs aren't working. But it's only temporary. Next time you come here, we'll have working TVs. So good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here today. Thank you for joining me. I'm Ben Schmerler. I'm the Director of Data and AI at Databricks Technologies. It's been about 3 months on the team. I was doing industry things for over a decade prior to this opportunity. During that time, I worked with a lot of consulting firms, and I know this user group isn't marketing heavy, but I've been extremely impressed with the Databricks champions on our team, and really proud of how the team delivers. Every year, so today I'm gonna walk through the agenda here real quick. So I'll provide a quick introduction, then I'll go into the key product announcements at the Databricks conference, and then I'll highlight some notable themes. And then lastly, I'll get into some of my personal thoughts. So every year, Databricks makes a significant number of product releases at their main conference, the Data and AI Summit. It can be overwhelming to unpack all of this content all at once. So now we've had a month or two pass, which gives us an opportunity, myself included, to digest that content and think about how we're going to use it in the field. So I've been using Databricks for about 6 years now. I've been at the conference 4 times. Every year, the conference gets bigger. Every year, the product releases are more impressive. And every year, I come back with a little more energy. And that's mainly because Databricks is doing some amazing things. So how many of us here have attended the recent conference in June in San Francisco? A couple of us? Okay, got a handful. So I do want to make a note that if you go to Databricks' YouTube channel, there are some keynote and other content material online if you didn't attend the conference. So I'm going to touch on a few things here, but there's a lot of material, so feel free to check that resource out to learn more. So I want to start off by highlighting a few data points from the keynote with Databricks CEO Ali Ghodsi. So there are over 22,000 people at the conference physically in San Francisco. 65,000+ in total attendance, representing over 150 countries. It was the largest data and AI conference in the world. That's pretty impressive. Each year, it's a redelivery on the promise of their brand, a unified and open platform. Ali highlighted their continued commitment to open source and the traction it receives. He highlighted that Spark has over 2 billion downloads this year. Delta Lake has over 1 billion downloads this year. Iceberg, 360 million downloads. MLflow, 300 million. With that being said, let's dive into the product releases. All of those open source technologies are I guess the Databricks platform is built on all of those open source technologies. So here are the new product releases. So I'm gonna go from left to right, up to down, starting with Lakebase. Lakebase is Databricks' answer to traditional operational databases, bringing low latency, high throughput transactions to the lakehouse. It's designed to support operational workloads like serving low latent APIs, user-facing apps, or high concurrency dashboards directly from Delta tables. And the key here is without duplicating or copying the data into a separate OLTP system. In one of the keynotes, there was mention of a shocking statistic that 80% of databases created on Neon was acquired by Databricks, were done by agents and not humans. There's speculation that that number will increase to over 99% in 1 year. Pretty interesting. And we'll go into some more details about Lakebase later in this slide deck. So Lakebase is in public preview, so it's available to all customers, but the features are incomplete and in limited support. So the next release is Agent Bricks. Agent Bricks are reusable, configurable building blocks for creating agentic AI systems within the Databricks Lakehouse platform. They let you define autonomous, goal-driven agents that can reason, plan, and take action using your enterprise data, tools, and models. And more importantly, you can do it safely and securely. In simple terms, Agent Bricks turns your lakehouse into a platform for intelligent AI assistance. Agent Bricks is in beta, so it's limited to opt-in customers only right now for feedback and refinement. So the next three are kind of all connected. So the first one is Spark Declarative Pipelines. Declarative pipelines in Databricks, it's really a paradigm shift in traditional data engineering. Traditionally, building data pipelines involves writing imperative code, meaning that you have to specify the sequence of instructions. You have to specify step by step how you want them to be processed. In contrast, declarative pipelines focus on what you want to achieve rather than explicitly outlining how you want to achieve it. You define the desired state by essentially defining your data and transformation, and Lakeflow handles the underlying orchestration, execution, and optimization. Declarative pipelines are in public preview, so it's available for all customer use. Lakeflow. So Lakeflow is the underlying data engineering and orchestration platform that enables you to build, run, and manage batch and streaming data pipelines natively on the Lakehouse. Lakeflow is in GA and is fully released and supported. So the last of the three kind of core data engineering feature launches is Lakeflow Designer. So Databricks Lakeflow Designer is a newly introduced visual no-code pipeline builder. It provides a drag and drop interface to move and process data. It's a play on those Microsoft shops to consider modernizing their workflows. Some developers really enjoy those drag and drop interfaces, and this provides that capability. Lakeflow Designer is in private preview, so again, it's invite only at this time. But you can contact your account reps and your Databricks resources to get you access to that. So now moving down to the lower left, Unity Catalog metrics. In Databricks, Unity Catalog metrics, specifically the metric views, provide a centralized and governed way to define and manage business metrics across the organization. They act as a semantic layer on top of your data, observing a single source of truth for key performance indicators. Unity catalogs always had technical metadata, right? This is an extension of that moving into the business glossary. This standardization ensures consistency in how metrics are calculated and used across organizations. Metrics are in public preview, so it's available to all customers, but with limited support. Has anyone in the room used a Blade Bridge by chance, or is familiar with Blade Bridge? Okay, we have some hands up. Lake Bridge is the free tool from Databricks designed to automate the migration of data warehouses to the Databricks Lakehouse platform. It simplifies and accelerates the migration process by automating key tasks such as SQL conversion, validation, and reconciliation. LakeBridge aims to lower the barrier of entry for organizations wanting to modernize their data infrastructure by making the migration process more efficient and less risky. In terms of SQL conversion, what they're seeing in terms of success rate is 60 to 80% in the field, which means that can get you 20 to 40%, or then you only have to do the remaining 20 to 40%, increasing the effectiveness of data warehouse migrations. LakeBridge is in private preview. Databricks AI BI. It's a suite of features within the Databricks Intelligence Platform that contains business intelligence tools, BI, with artificial intelligence, AI, to enable more intuitive and efficient data analytics and exploration. It empowers users, including those without extensive technical expertise, to gain insights for their data, both through dashboards or conversational interfaces. So Databricks One is a component of AI BI, and it offers a simpler interface for business users. Kind of think Power BI or Tableau, right? It doesn't have a lot of the bells and whistles that a specialist would use within the Databricks interface. It's a clean, crisp user interface for business users. So there's AI BI is built on Lakehouse IQ, so Databricks' enterprise intelligence engine. So it lowers the barrier of entry for business users to do analytics. There's a mix of GA, so general available, public, and private preview features with Databricks AI BI. For instance, Genie has been on the market now for some time, but Databricks One is in private preview. So I'm going to skip Databricks apps. Phil will do a deep dive later in this session. So moving on to the last product announcement here, the free edition of Databricks. So free to everyone. It's $100 million investment into training and learning. I'm probably going to get an email from the Databricks folks here. So Databricks Free Edition is a no-cost version of the Databricks Intelligence Platform, designed for learning, experimentation, and development. So essentially, it's not meant for commercial use. It allows users to explore Databricks' core features without an upfront capital investment. It's an excellent starting point for individuals, students, and small teams looking to learn and build with Databricks. The free edition is available today, so go check it out. So as you saw, Databricks is doing some amazing things with their platform. I want to zoom out a little bit and talk about some of the notable themes at the conference. All of these areas target simplifying complexity. So the first one on the left there, democratizing data and AI across the business. This, to me, is one of the most important shifts. Historically, Databricks was a tool designed for technical specialists, data engineers, scientists, architects. The business side would rely on separate tools like Power BI to consume the outputs. But now Databricks is making a clear push into the analytics layer, aiming to be the end-to-end platform from raw ingestion to reporting, and from the marketplace to consume data, and to machine learning and artificial intelligence as well. So this is about putting data and AI in the hands of everyone in your organization, not just the experts. With tools like AI BI, Unity Catalog Metrics, and Databricks apps, business users can now use governed real-time insights without being a specialist. It's a platform built for everybody, and that's a huge strategic move. The second theme is around productionizing AI agents. Another theme that really resonates with me is a focus on moving from AI experimentation to AI execution, but doing it in a way that is safe and measurable. With Agentbricks, Databricks is helping organizations go beyond basic copilots or LLM prototypes and actually building enterprise-grade, governed, and secure agents. These agents aren't just demos. They perform real tasks from generating sales summaries to conducting root cause analysis, all while keeping data private and available and audible. This is about giving teams the building blocks, the tools to create intelligent systems that do work, not just suggest it. So the third category here, or the third theme, is hydrating the lakehouse. There's a renewed focus on solving the hardest problem in data: integration. Across large enterprises, data is still fragmented, locked in CRMs, ERPs, spreadsheets, and legacy systems. Databricks is doubling down on helping organizations hydrate their lakehouse, to centralize and unify these data sources in a governed and real-time environment. Whether through Lakebridge, get it off of an old platform onto a new, for warehouse migrations, or through simplified ingestion using Lakeflow, declarative pipelines, and Lakeflow Designer. The goal is clear: making the lakehouse the single source of truth for data and AI, both for analytics and for operational AI. So now that we've covered the key product releases, now that we've covered some general themes, I want to kind of go deeper into two product features that were released that I really think are game changers. The first being Lakebase. So about 4 years ago, I was at a table at the Databricks conference with some data architects and engineers talking shop. There was a philosophical debate on if their company even needed Spark and big data processing, right? Did it warrant the 5 V's, velocity, volume, right? Was it needed? Or if an operational database like MS SQL Server could meet their business needs at a lower price point. Now that conversation is more relevant, right? With Lakebase, if you look at the Databricks products 4 years ago, I'd say that it was the engine of the modern data estate. But you needed an ETL tool, you needed a Viz tool, and now today, I would argue that it's the only end-to-end platform on the market that's strong in data, governance, processing, and AI. Databricks isn't only a tech company that's made its way into the Postgres space. There's others that have followed their path. Snowflake and Microsoft, they've both made similar acquisitions. There are some key reasons behind these acquisitions. The first, there's a demand for leveraging operational databases for AI and agentic workloads. 2, strategic expansion and competitive positioning in the market, because these acquisitions allow both companies to expand their offerings beyond traditional warehousing and offer a unified platform for emerging tech and AI application development. Lakehouse breaks down the old wall between analytical processing and transaction or operational processing by supporting both on the Delta Lake. This eliminates the need for separate operational databases like Postgres or MongoDB or SQL Server, complex ETL pipelines, and data silos. Lakebase supports Databricks apps. It tightly integrates with Databricks apps, which you'll see in a little bit. Developers can now build end-to-end facing applications like order tracking, customer portals, and ML-driven apps directly on the Lakehouse stack. This unlocks a new category of use cases, operational AI applications that are always fresh, fully managed, and deeply integrated into your enterprise data. Lakebase signals that Databricks is not just a data platform for analytics and AI, but also a platform for building complete modern data-driven applications. It's the backbone of real-time AI, agentic systems, and next-gen enterprise apps, all from a single governed data source. So the second feature that I believe will be a game changer is Agent Bricks. If you haven't taken a look at this feature, check it out. I'll tell you something, it's a game changer because of the way it simplifies and improves AI development AI agent development. Databricks has taken a step back in the LM and foundational model race, right? It's not their focus right now. They have one, but the bigger play here is that they're making a platform around all of these LMs, making Databricks the best place to use them effectively and get the value out of your data. Agents run within your Databricks environment, meaning that they inherit all of the governance, data security, and observability Unity Catalog has to offer. Unlike many LLMs and LLM built apps that pose data leak risks, Agent Bricks keeps your data safe, controllable, and auditable. As well, Agent Bricks are modular. Each brick represents a capability: data querying, function calling, summarization, planning. You can mix and match bricks to create an agent tailored for your business needs. In the keynote, there's a mention that while agents are valuable, full automation required or remains challenging, right? Drawing an analogy to aviation, they argued that humans must remain supervisors ready to take responsibility and correct AI when needed. So what does this all mean? So I have some closing thoughts. It's really great to see that Databricks is leaning into what has made them successful in the past. Let me explain that. They have an unmatched hunger to innovate. They are a company of data nerds like us in the best way. I say that in the best way. And in my mind, that's one aspect that makes them great. Two, they are hyper-focused on customer obsession. They care about the business outcome, and they care tremendously about solving the business challenges. If you win on those two fronts, amazing results can follow. So all those great announcements at the conference are there as a result of these characteristics. It means that the Databricks platform is cutting edge while keeping the customer voice close to their product roadmap and strategy. What makes Databricks the most capable data and AI platform on the market today is that they've aimed to be the best and the most, I would argue that they aim to be the best and the most reliable data platform on the market. And even Gartner has recognized this, positioning them as the leader of leaders in the Magic Quadrant. So that wraps up my conference summary. I'll hand the floor over to Phil for a deep dive into Databricks apps.
Thanks, Ben. And thanks everyone for joining us this evening. Appreciate it. Great to have you all here this evening. Let me just transition a few things here. And before I dive into that, let me just echo what Ben was saying. We've got a lot of great content out there around the Data and AI Summit. It can be challenging to surf through all of that on YouTube. So rather than going out to the YouTube channel, you can still just go out to our Summit page. So just go search for Data and AI Summit, and then you'll be able to find, there's over 700 sessions out there. So there's a ton of content to get through. I've watched them all. No, I have not. But there's a lot of good stuff out there, and I'll even include some links to some sessions specifically about Databricks apps, so that you can have an easier time getting to the relevant content that we'll dive into in this part of the talk. Before I dive into that, how many folks here are currently using Databricks? Okay, so most folks. And how many of you are data engineers? Okay, how many are data scientists? Okay. How about analysts? A couple folks. How many of you would consider yourselves software developers? Okay, couple. Great. Well, there'll be a little bit of everything in here for you. Actually, before I even go further into that, how many of you have used Databricks apps already? Okay, just one. And I know that this was Gesundheit. I know this was a late announcement, but we've got one person here, a couple folks maybe with laptops. If you do have a laptop and you'd like to follow along, go ahead and install the Databricks free edition. You can also just search for Databricks free edition. And if you go to that link, they've got the link to the sign up page right off of the documentation there. If you've used the community edition in the past, you may be thinking, oh, there's still a lot of hoops to go through. Trust me, it's super simple now. So you can absolutely do it right now. I would recommend using your personal email address, not your corporate email address. So this is, again, meant to be an environment where you do learning. And so go ahead and use a personal email address to sign up. And then we can use this environment. So when I do the demo portion, if you want to follow along and build an app along with me, you'll have the opportunity to do so. Completely optional, not required. And again, with the free edition, there's no credit card or anything that you got to. It's not one of these gotchas to let you forget about the fact that you signed up and then charge you later. It's completely free. All right, so let's get started about Databricks apps. Again, my name is Phil Salm. I'm a solution architect at Databricks. I've been with Databricks for a little over 3 years now. I'm up in I've got Appleton / Kewanee up there because I'm sort of in between. We're live in Appleton. We're moving to Kewanee shortly. So a little further north, a little bit of a drive to get down here, but I'm happy to be with you all. My background is more on the machine learning side. I was sort of inspired to go back to school to get my master's in the program at the time was called predictive analytics. Of course, we love to change the names over the years. But it was really a case of newborn ICU and being able to predict patients that were at risk for infection and seeing sort of the early results in the early days of machine learning that inspired me to go back and get my degree. in machine learning, and I'm now actually in the healthcare vertical at Databricks. So I work with healthcare providers across the US. And just a few things, you can see my family out there, as well as, fun fact, wrote my first program on a TI-99 4A and saved it to a Panasonic cassette tape recorder. So yes, I'm that old. All right. So I'm super excited to talk to you about Databricks apps. This was an exciting announcement. It's now GA, and you may be thinking, well, Databricks is a data platform. What the heck are we building apps now for? We'll get into that here, but since apps was introduced, so back in November is really when it first became available for customers to use. Customers have made over 20,000 apps using Databricks apps. So over 2,500 customers have created those apps. So it's actually the fastest growing public preview we've ever had for one of our new features. So it's clearly filling a need that a lot of customers have felt has been a gap out there. And why would we create apps? Well, I mean, we already have notebooks. Can't you just give a notebook out to a business user? I think most of you would, I'm surprised I didn't have you laugh me off the front of the room when I said that. Notebooks are great for us data professionals that, can be comfortable in it, but it really isn't the type of thing, even though you have markup in them, that you would typically feel comfortable sharing out to a business user. And so, they're somewhat challenging in when you want to convey to the business the value of the data that's there. You need a way to actually reach those end business users. And so Notebooks hasn't been fantastic for that. Of course, we've introduced the AI/BI dashboard capability, and that is great. Visualizations are fantastic ways of reaching out to business users. With our dashboards, you can now tie that to Genie. And so, you don't just answer the question that's in the dashboard, but Genie can answer the next question that a business user has, right? But there's limited interaction, right? If I want to actually show the data alongside of, say, other application components from another image visualization, right? I can't add that easily to a dashboard or at all to a dashboard today. Or if I wanted to integrate some LLM capabilities, let's say a RAG chatbot that has access to data that's unstructured, right? That's not something that Genie can do today. So how could I deploy this and get that type of capability out to end users? And so that's where apps comes into play, really meant to provide that new interactive surface that provides more than notebooks and data visualizations or data dashboards alone. So what are some examples here? Let me just show you a couple example apps. Again, being out of the healthcare space, I had to show a healthcare example. But in this particular app, you can see that we're pulling in data on a patient and pulling in information. So you can pull in information directly from your Delta tables into the application. But here you can see we've got an image viewer also embedded into this app. And then we also have the LLM here down at the bottom, so that, again, you can start to pull together multiple applications and AI sources into that single surface for your users to interact with and answer the business questions that they have. Another example here, more from the energy field, is a pipeline monitor. So again, being able to pull in things like mapping and being able to then pull in information for the end consumer. The nice thing here too, right, is all of this is outside of the Databricks UI. So again, the Databricks UI is really originally designed for the data users, and this is really meant for a business user. Databricks One, of course, takes that step, as Ben had alluded to, takes that step to making Databricks more available to the business user, but Databricks apps absolutely does that as well, stripping away all of the UI. You can provide these app URLs directly to users so that they can access the app directly from that URL. So lots of organizations have built apps sort of in front of Databricks data in the past. I'll give you one example. A healthcare provider that I work with had created some apps. They use Azure Databricks, and their app was used to pull in how their models were performing inside of Epic and share that data out to others within the organization that, again, maybe weren't going into Databricks for that type of information. And so initially they built this all out using some Azure containers, and they built the app using Streamlit, but it was very challenging for them. They had to work with other parts of the organization, cloud services part of the organization. They had to work with security to work through the security issues of trying to deploy that app. And it was extremely challenging for them because they were having to dive into things like compute that they didn't have to work with in the past. So it was hard to build. It was hard to share out to others in the organization. And then it was also challenging to secure because it was not only having to manage things like securing how do they log into that, so we can't just have random folks logging into this application, but also once you are in the application, making sure that the data, even for those who are accessing it, that they're only seeing the data that they should have access to. So these are all the challenges, or some of the challenges, I should say, but the primary ones that Databricks apps helps resolve for you. They're super simple to build. We'll get into that, about how you can rapidly create these apps. Again, we'll do it together if you've got a laptop and you've signed up for the free edition here. They're production ready, so they're leveraging the infrastructure that Databricks already has in place, and also the security and governance that's already in place for your Databricks environment. So being able to authenticate, leveraging, say, your Entra ID credentials for users within the organization, as well as respecting Unity catalog permissions so that they can only access the data that they should access within the application. So let's dive into that a little bit further. What do I mean when I say it's simple to create? So there still is code involved. It's not just strictly a GUI process, but again, it's pretty straightforward. Any standard Python library for application creation is out there that you can leverage. So Dash, Gradio, Streamlit, Shiny, Flask. And actually, we've extended this now to many other application development frameworks as well. So if you have JS platforms that you want to leverage for your app creation, you can. If you want to create a React app, for example, or Node.js, these are all supported frameworks that you can use. It all runs directly within the Databricks environment, so you're leveraging serverless compute under the covers. Very quick and easy to spin them up and then make them available to the end users. They are production ready, so you can easily deploy these across your different environments within Databricks. So if you've got dev test prod, you can easily move the apps across them and promote them using your CI/CD process. It is supported with Databricks asset bundles, so if you're leveraging DABs today, you can easily promote the assets for a Databricks app across your environment using DABs. I'll include a link at the end here for a recent blog that dives into that, so I won't be showing you that specifically, but I'll share some resources on it. And again, you can share those apps outside of the workspace. So users of the app don't have to have Databricks workspace access, but they do have to have a Databricks account. Okay, so it's like sharing AI, BI dashboards from Databricks today. Users don't have to enter the workspace, but they do have to have an account. So as long as they have been set up, either if you're using SCIM provisioning and they have an account, that's fine. Similarly, if you're using the new automated identity management, which if you haven't checked out, do check out, because that makes it even simpler to add new users, even if they don't have workspace access, as long as they have an ID in Enter ID. So again, it's using the authorization then that you have already in your Databricks environment. When you create an app, it actually creates a new service principal automatically for the app to use. And then that service principal will then authenticate against the various resources on the back end of Databricks. So it will need to have the appropriate permissions depending on what type of functionality you want it to be able to tap into on the back end. So if, for example, you are reading tables, then you need to make sure that the SQL warehouse that it's leveraging has that service principal authorized to use it, et cetera, down the line. But all of the various components that you have inside of Databricks, you can now then add as new functionality to the Databricks app. And there is a great resource called the Databricks Cookbook, Databricks Apps Cookbook. And again, I'll include that link and we'll use that here as we do the demo to grab various code snippets so that if you want to, for example, read a table in, you can just grab that code snippet and then use that in your app. And there's examples for doing write back, which is also a common request that I hear from customers. So, read the table in, give the user an interface to make changes to the data that they see, and then write that back to the table. So authorization is handled through that service principal, and there's a new capability, so you do need to sign up for this capability or enable the preview. I apologize, we change preview status quite frequently, so I think it's currently in public preview, but it's on behalf of user authorization. That's something that you'll want to enable so that then when they're using the application, that's where it will then respect their access to data based off of their credentials or permissions within Unity Catalog. So make sure you enable that capability if that's an important feature for you. So where does apps fit in the architecture? Again, we're using serverless compute underneath the hood for Databricks apps. So ultimately the compute here is running in the Databricks compute plane and then leveraging the infrastructure that you already have in place for accessing the data that you have in your own cloud storage. When you create an app, you also specify what resources it should have access to. So super simple to then add those things that you do want the app to leverage. So in this case, you can see an example where a SQL warehouse is being tapped so that it can read data in from a table into the application. You can also handle secret management in the app, so being able to specify what secrets it should have access to if it needs to use secrets. There is a more advanced Databricks app session that that was held at Summit that I again have a link to for you all here. And they emphasize repeatedly, do not use personal access tokens and embed them in your application. I can only guess that means that folks have been running into that with folks out there. So don't do that, but leverage the capabilities here if you do need to use secret management. And to simplify the whole process, there are pre-built templates for creating these apps with a number of the different frameworks already in the UI. So you simply choose what type of app you want to use to get started, and this is what I'd encourage you to do if you want to get started, get your hands on it. That's how I best learn, is actually trying it out myself. So I encourage you to try it out. And again, if you've got your laptop, you can follow along in the free edition as we do the demo. Important to log all the information. So with the apps, you can log all of the events so you can see what is actually occurring in the app. One call out that I'll bring here is that these logs will disappear when the app disappears. So if you stop the app, the logs go away. Now, you can write these out to an external, like a Delta table, for example. but currently that requires you manually to set that up. So otherwise, just know that these logs are available while the app is running, but not afterwards. Now that is on the roadmap. This is a common request to have these persist. And so expect to see new capabilities where that will be easier for you to have the logs persist as opposed to you having to instrument it. And all of this, right, when you think about deploying an app, and particularly if you're in a regulated industry, you've got to make sure that you have logs on who's accessing it, when they're accessing it, what kind of permissions they were granted, things of that sort. And all of this is automatically taken care of for you. So when you create an app, it is going to leverage the Databricks system tables, and the app permissions changes and things of that sort, access, are all recorded there. So you can then use that for reporting on any of the audit requirements that you have related to app access. Underneath the covers, so it's spinning up essentially a container, right, that the app is going to be running in for you. It is pretty minimal compute that is being used, so it is 2 virtual CPUs and 6 gigabytes of RAM. This is another area where it is on the roadmap to give you some flexibility in the future for choosing different sizes for the apps. But you'd be surprised at how much you can accomplish, because really when you're building these apps, the goal here is not to do compute heavy things in that front end of the application. It's to push the compute heavy processing back to things like your DB SQL warehouse or to a model serving endpoint on the back end as additional resources. So the app really is just a surface area that is talking to those more heavy compute pieces in the back end. Underneath the covers, though you don't need to know anything about Ubuntu, etc., all of that's handled. When you create the app, you don't interface with it at all. But that's what is running underneath the covers, and you do have the flexibility to install custom libraries. Many libraries are included out of the box when you spin up an app, but if you have custom libraries that you need for your application, you can pin those into the app as well. What does pricing look like? It comes out to, let's say if you're on Azure Databricks, it's about 50 cents an hour, a little bit less than that. So it's really not that expensive. I know I've had a couple of customers say, oh my gosh, somebody left the app running. And really, when you think about the cost of 50 cents an hour, it's not like somebody's left a high-end GPU cluster running and now you're going to get socked with a massive bill. You feel free to experiment with this. This is meant to give you a way of quickly building and democratizing these apps within the organization so that you can have more purpose-specific apps as opposed to, say, a heavily developed, massive time to deploy, highly polished application. Think of these as something that you can very rapidly innovate and roll out to different user groups and then modify as you go. You're only incurring cost when the app is running. So it's like any other Databricks component, it's consumption-based costs. So if you can stop the app if you don't want the app running. Currently, it's not like other compute where you can have auto shutdown, so just be aware of that. Know that you do need to go in there and manually shut off that app so that it is not incurring costs. That is also something that is on the roadmap for the future. All right, so these are the resources that I have for you. So again, you've got a link to the Databricks apps docs, the cookbook, which we'll take a peek at here shortly. The summit session that I mentioned that kind of does a much deeper dive into app capabilities and processes associated with the lifecycle of a Databricks app. A link to the blog on using DABs. And then there's this pretty cool new application. So somebody released a Databricks app for creating Databricks apps. And so it's really all about vibe coding, and it's integrated with Claude so that you essentially can speak to the app and have it do the coding for you and see live the changes. Check out the link. It's pretty slick. He has a video on his repo that walks you through him doing this live. Take a peek at it. And then if you saw at Databricks Summit, the keynote, one of the apps that was demonstrated was an inventory management app. One piece that I didn't highlight, Ben did a great job talking about Lakebase and the Postgres database in the back end, right? So if you do need to use a low latency, high transaction back end for these apps, you can use Lakebase. And the example that was shared was an inventory app. The code, the app was built using React. The code is all out on this repo. So if you want to check it out for a more advanced app, feel free to check out that repo as well. All right, so let's take a peek at it in action. So I am going to switch windows because I'm going to use the free edition as well so that you are seeing what I am seeing. And all right, so this is the Databricks free edition. If you want to do this yourself, feel free. And then also, if you want to just try it out when you get home or another time, you can do that. So creating an app is super simple. So I'm just going to go to New and choose App. And then I'm going to choose a particular framework. So I'm going to install it from a template. And in this case, I'm going to choose Streamlit. And so with Streamlit, I'm going to say, hey, let's create a chatbot. And that's going to bring me to a screen here where I choose to install the app. And I need to, since we're doing a chatbot, I need to specify what is the LLM in the background, so the model serving endpoint. So I'm just going to click on the drop down here. One of the new models that we support now is Gemma. So we'll grab Gemma from the list here and choose next. And then, yes, we're going to be giving the Ken query permission to this app on the Databricks Gemma endpoint. And here you can specify a name. It is sensitive to the characters that you put in there, so keep it lowercase, don't use underscores, you can use dashes, things of that sort. Don't worry if you forget that, it will remind you when you try to use it. But put in a basic name. This will be something that users see in the URL, so just, I guess, be sensitive to that. And similarly, the description that you would put in here is something that is viewable inside of the Databricks environment. You can, since this is using serverless compute, if you do want to track costs associated with this, you can use the serverless budget policy and then specify which serverless budget policy should apply for this app so that you can then track those costs later. And then I'm going to go ahead and click on install. And so now it is going to generate a new app for us and the compute necessary underneath the covers to drive this application. Now you can see here that I'm just going to scroll down a little bit. It does show you the app resources, so you can see that, again, we've given it access to that endpoint, but it also specifies that you can edit the app using an IDE, so you don't have to edit the app inside of Databricks. I'll be honest, not being a software developer myself, I prefer not to use a separate IDE. You can do all the editing directly in Databricks. I'll show you that here in a minute. So it's going to take about 3 to 5 minutes for it to spin that up. So while that's spinning up, let me switch to, I'm going to search for Databricks Apps Cookbook. All right, so this is a great resource for as you get started with creating Databricks apps to, again, grab code snippets and be able to use that. So since we're doing a Streamlit app, What we're going to use is from the cookbook here. You can dive into, well, what kind of snippets do we have for Streamlit? And you can see we've got ways of interfacing with Databricks tables, volumes, workflows, etc. So, think about even just creating personal apps if you're on the data engineering side and you want something to kick off workflows or monitor workflows yourself, or similarly being able to monitor your model performance on the AI ML side. You can create these personal apps for your use as well. But in this case, we're going to use tables. And so we can either read a table or provide the ability to edit a table. We're going to want to edit a table. And so we've got a code snippet here that we'll come back to here shortly. And I'm going to stop back here. Okay, so a couple of things we're going to want to eventually build into this app. So I'm going to duplicate the tab. And let's go to ingest some data. So any CSV that you have, you can use for this exercise. I'm just going to go to data ingestion down here, and I'm going to choose create or modify a table. And then I will browse to, I've got a CSV with some healthcare data in. So I'll select that. And now we have to choose where we want to put that. So I'll just leave it in the workspace catalog. I'll create a new schema, call it Wisconsin Debug. And just to make it easier on myself, rather than typing that full thing out, I'm going to change the table name to patients and then choose create table. I've got a repo out there, which I can share the link with you all, where you can grab the exact same files if you want, but otherwise any CSV will do. And go ahead and create a table. So here I've got my sample data now loaded into Unity Catalog, and on that schema, one other thing that I'll do is I'll create a volume, and we'll just name that files. Okay, now assuming we have time, we will show examples of integrating with both that new patient data table as well as the files upload. Okay, I went back to the app homepage for the chatbot, and you can see it is now available. So you can see it took about 4 minutes for it to spin up the compute necessary. And when you're looking at the app page, you can see at the top it says running, and it gives you a URL. So this is the URL that you use to access the app and that you can share with others so that they can access the app. And you can see here I've got a chatbot app, and I can say, what model are you? And it is now going back to that Gemma endpoint that we had established, and so you can see that it has access to that. So super simple to create an initial chatbot and make that something that has a nice GUI front end on it that end users can access. All right, so I'm going to close that app and just come back here to the app page. And in addition to that launch app, you can see that there is a link here to where it's actually deployed the source files for the application. So if I click on that link, it's going to bring me to the actual files that are driving this application. There's an app.py. You can think of this as really the key file for driving the Streamlit application that has the code for all the various UI elements. There's an app.yaml. It's generated this automatically. This is something that you would dive into if you're probably going to try to create an app using a different framework like React, for example, where we don't have the templates right now initially available. But otherwise, you don't even need to hop into this. This basically tells the container how to launch the app. And then we've got some helper functions because we are accessing a model serving endpoint, and we've got requirements.txt. So this tells it what libraries it needs to use. And again, you could put in additional libraries if you've got some local libraries that you want to leverage with the app. So I'm just going to spend my time here in this app.py. So you can see it looks like any other Python file. We're loading some initial libraries. We're loading the logging library. We're calling the logger so that we're going to generate the logs from the app. And then we've got some functions in here for being able to call the chatbot app. But let's say we want to call this, rather than having that chatbot, we want Wisconsin debug chatbot app. We'll just make the changes here to the code and add in whatever we want to that template that's been generated. Now, if I go back to the app page and I click on deploy, it's actually going to take the updated files and push them to the container. So you can see it made those updates, and it really did that quite fast, right? It's lickety-split, and the new app is available. We launched the app, and we can now see the changes that we've made to the app. So again, you can use an external IDE, but it's super easy to do this all directly within Databricks as you're doing those edits. All right, so now we want to change the app up. We want to add that functionality to read the table and let users actually edit the content in it. So they may see something that's an incorrect value and they want to go back in and correct it, and we're going to give them this interface to do so. So what we're going to do is actually edit the app, and when I choose edit the app, I'm just going to leave the information initially here the same, but now I'm going to add a new resource. So I'm going to add a SQL warehouse. And so the SQL warehouse, we only have one in our free edition here, so I'm going to choose that one. And the permission that we're giving to the app is can use that resource. So I'm going to go ahead and choose save. So this is now going to give the app the right to use that SQL warehouse, but the service principal does not yet have the rights to read that table that we created, right? So what we're going to do, when you look under authorization, you can see the name of the service principal that was created for the app. And so what I'm going to do is just hop over to, actually let me just duplicate this. And I'm going to hop over to Unity Catalog. And I'm going to grab the catalog here. Because this is just the free edition, I'm going to be very broad stroke with permissions, and I'm just going to go to the catalog level and grant. There's my service principal, and I'm going to give it all privileges to the catalog. So now it can also read from that table. All right, now we need to get the code for adding the table to our app. So I'm going to pop over to the cookbook here, and I'm just going to start here with this config file as well as the libraries, and we'll start adding this into our existing template. So I will go up to the top of our app.py. Now we can see we've got one library that was already there. We will remove that so we're not duplicating. Now we've got the config line, and let's go back, and we want to grab the rest of the code here. Let's grab from stcache, and we will go all the way down until the if statement. So basically from here up to stcache, if you are following along, and then we'll come in here and we'll now add this in. We'll just insert it above the functions for the chatbot. So we'll paste that in. And the way that the code snippet works is it calls for user input for, hey, specify the warehouse that you're using and specify the table. We don't want to do that. So what we're going to do here is actually here where it says HTTP path, we're going to delete this out. And we're just going to put in the path to our SQL warehouse, and we can go back to our app we can see, okay, here's a link to that SQL warehouse, and we'll now grab the connection information, so we need that warehouse ID. So I'll grab that, and we'll toss that where we've got the X-rated section of the code. And then for the table name, we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to delete out the input portion of this, and we're just going to put in the label for our catalog that we created. So it was workspace, Wisconsin debug, and patients. Sure, delete that trailing parens there. That will nab you. And then there's one last piece. If we hop back to the cookbook, right, this is the actual interface element. So this is going to be something that we need to put in the body of the page. So we'll just grab that and then go back to our app.py, and we'll go in between the heading with the markdown, and we'll just add in that interface element for our table. Okay, so now it's going to actually load that table in and provide the ability to edit that. So with that done, we'll head back to our app page here and choose deploy. And it is now going to push those new code updates out to the app. And faster than I could take a drink, it is up and available for us to take a peek at. And if the demo gods are with me and I did not leave a stray parentheses or anything else, you can see that now we've got our table that we loaded up into the app. So it's loading the data into the app, and let's say, hey, you know what, this patient actually did have hypertension, so we're going to make that change to the data and then save the changes back. And so now we've got, you know, the data saved to the backend app, as well as the ability here to, hey, are you still there? So we now can add those multiple layers of interactivity here for those end users into the app. I'll show you one other quick example here. So let's go to the volumes, and let's say you want to give users the ability to upload a file. So we'll grab this content now, and I'm just going to copy that wholesale and come back to the app that we've created over here. One thing I'm going to do is over here we see that, let's see, it is, I've gotten blind. I'm looking for save changes. Here's the button. Okay, so this is just a heads up. So when you add multiple components from the cookbook, a lot of them will have buttons that are named the same thing. Well, that will conflict when you're building your app. So what you need to do is actually change the button name, or you can leave the button name, but you're going to add a key here. So I'm just going to add a key here that says save. And then let's go ahead and paste in our new content from the volume. Again, I'm going to delete out the duplicate libraries there. And we're now invoking the workspace client, and we're going to upload a file. So we've got the file upload, and we're going to take this piece. And here's the save changes, like I was saying. Let's just change the name of this to, rather than save changes, we'll change this button to upload, and we'll change the key or add a key, upload, and then let's just grab that whole interface section and we will move it above our table. Not great UI design on my part, but it will do for purposes of demonstration. Now, the other thing that we'll add here is this snippet doesn't include include any kind of reaction when you've uploaded the file. So we're going to just put in here a note, file uploaded, if it's successful once it's uploaded the file. Okay, so we've got our interface elements. We're connecting back to the volume. And so let's go back to the app page here and we'll redeploy the app. Oh, you know what? What I left off here, well, we can do this anyways. So it is workspace. We could have hard coded this as well so that we didn't have to have the user enter this. Wisconsin debug, and I called the volume files. Okay, so now I'm going to browse for a file. I've got a PDF here. It's uploaded the file to the app, and now I'm going to upload it to the volume. And now we get the message, file uploaded. So within minutes here, really, we've created an app that's interfaced back to a chatbot. We then customized it by being able to add and edit a table from Unity Catalog, as well as giving users the ability to quickly and easily upload a file to a volume. So you can see that you can really start to bring the full power of Databricks and the data that you have within your organization out to more users within the org. So let me pause there. What kind of questions do folks have?
How many petabytes of data does it process? How many petabytes of data can it process?
Yeah, the question is how many petabytes of data can it process? Do you mean like an upload, or do you mean like loading in the data, the table itself in memory? So remember, we don't have a ton of memory that we're working with here in the container. It's 6 meg, right? So you're going to want to keep that in mind as you're loading data to make that available to end users. But again, the processing really isn't happening in the app. It's happening on the back end. So you know, your flexibility there is that you're having DB SQL do the heavy lifting when you're talking about bringing in the data.
The online IDE could take like a debugger. Obviously, you went through it quickly, so but I'm assuming that there would be a feature possibly where I could have a debugger just in case, let's say
Yeah, the question is, does the online IDE include a debugger? And so when you deploy an app, you will see the errors that happen, right? So it is this kind of quick iteration process. There's not like in a notebook where you can step through your code and debug. Well, I say that, but I haven't actually tried to do that. And again, I'm not an app developer, so I'm definitely a vibe coder myself. So I haven't tried to do that. So I guess you'd have to potentially test that in the Py file to see if we've got some capability there.
what you do about that, like if it's can't have two of the same variables listed, right? You do about on the fly, be able to debug it yourself.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I definitely use vibe coding myself as I put these together. So, you know, I'll get an error and I'll toss it into the LLM. And so that is absolutely how I learned what Streamlit doesn't want me to have two buttons with the same name. So I'm not a Streamlit expert by any sense. That is how I found that out and then knew to add that in. So definitely use those coding assistants to your advantage here. But I mean, we joke about it, but it really is perfect for this use case. So another healthcare provider that I work with, they were talking about how they were developing a new app. They wanted to monitor, or they need to show, in case they get audited, that they are following responsible AI guidelines as they're creating these AI apps within their organization. And so this was a checklist app. They said they used an LLM and quickly vibe coded the interface for it. And within an hour, they had a new app prototype that their data scientists could go through and use. The organization's called Chai, but they've got checklists to go through to say, yes, we've gone through these steps as we're developing this new AI application for the organization, and then have it recorded. So absolutely very powerful for you to quickly create these custom applications for your teams. Oh.
Just apps with REST APIs.
Sorry, say that again?
Do apps have REST APIs?
The question is, do apps have REST API support? So you have a URL that you can hit, but I don't believe that there is. This isn't like a model serving endpoint where you'd be calling into to that application. It really is intended more as that front end face. That said, you can, one of the apps that there's a template for in the marketplace is a new MCP server, right? So one of the things that was announced at Data and AI Summit is now Unity Catalog acts as a native MCP server for various Unity Catalog tools like Genie Rooms, as well as vector search, as well as any UC functions that you've created in Unity Catalog. But we also support a custom MCP server, and you can deploy that and serve it as a Databricks app. So any other tools that you want to register, say calling external services, you can deploy that full MCP server as a Databricks app. If you do tool development or agentic development and you use a tool called, I think it's N8N, there's also some templates out there in the community that folks have been deploying that as a Databricks app as well. So you do have flexibility in creating more complex apps than what I showed you here today.
Share now on the
Oh.
webinar. Does it stop sharing?
I'm not really showing anything at this point, but
Yeah, just share it.
yeah, sorry folks that are online. Really just doing Q&A at this point, so I wasn't showing anything new in the UI, but I'm sure this is more interesting to look at than just my mug. Any other questions? All right, well, hey, if there's any other questions that you have about anything from Summit or whatnot, I'll be here afterwards as well. So really, I want to say thank you to Databricks for hosting this meetup. So let's give them a round of applause. Thank you so much for supporting the community and providing this forum for everyone to learn more and get value out of Databricks. And look forward to having more conversations with you all. So thanks much.